The Lady Galadriel of Lorien has asked you to investigate the area in the vicinity of Dol Guldur. While doing so, one of your allies was ambushed by orcs, captured, and is now held in a dungeon cell. Hello, welcome back to the Line Unbroken, my series in which I'm playing through each scenario of the Lord of the Rings LCG in turn, exploring the evolution of the card pool over the life of the game, in imitation of the existing LOTR LCG progression series. Here we are for the third scenario of the core set, Escape from Dol Guldur. Yes, as you can see here is a Nazgul. All the setup is done. Well, not all of it. There are the objectives here. I now have to attach encounters to them. So, without further ado, let us do that. Now, let me see. I believe that these are revealed, which doesn't matter here because there are no characters currently committed to a quest. Under the shadow. Until the end of the phase, raise the total threat in the staging area by X. I believe this does not apply. Well, it does apply, but the phase is set up. So by the time I get to the quest phase and the threat in the staging area matters, this will not do anything. So technically that goes there, guarding the dungeon torch, but then its effects are resolved and it is discarded. And the Great Forest Web. That's a reasonable setup for threat, I suppose, but I mean that's an enemy, I can immediately move it out of the staging area. Great Forest Web can be annoying because needing to exalt a hero to travel there is bothersome. But regardless, having a treachery is one of them. At least a treachery that doesn't do anything is very nice. This scenario can be susceptible to a certain amount of randomness, depending on how harsh your initial setup with the 3 guards is. So that is all the setup on side 1A. No flavor text here. And now I have to randomly select one hero. So random hero. I'm screwed. I'm probably screwed. Because Eowyn is the bulk of my questing power, and she has been captured. But we will see how this goes. This is another case where the random chance can really just screw you over in this quest. And players as a group cannot play more than 1 ally card each round. Of course, I'm also short resources from her. Which, I mean, it's something. If I lost Aragorn or Beravor, then I would be completely unable to use my leadership cards and my lore cards. So there's that. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold apparently. But on the other hand, you can get through relatively quickly and rescue the hero so long as you can quest reasonably, but with Eowyn gone, that may be an issue. And yes, the players as a group cannot play more than 1 ally card each round. This can also be somewhat restrictive. But these are the breaks that we have. So alright. Now I would like, under the circumstances, I think I really want to save Aragorn's resource so that next round I can play Calabrian's Stone to give him that spirit icon and more willpower. Deck 2 has no useful allies to play, so I will spend 2 tactics resources for a Gondorian Spearman. over here. Now, if I had 2 spirit resources, then I would play an unexpected courage. That was kind of my plan, but I only have 1 spirit resource, so that's not an option. I could spend my lore resource on a dark knowledge. I think that's a reasonable option. It's not the best, but I may as well take whatever I can get. Dark knowledge, it is a somewhat useful card, to be honest, at least at this stage in the card pool, less so later in the life of the game. But regardless. Okay. I think I'm going to have to take some chances here to make sure that I can quest reasonably. So, I'll quest with Aragorn. I will quest with Gimli, and I will quest with Beregor. That's a total of 6 against currently 4 in the staging area. This is why this quest can be quite harsh early on. If you get problems with the guards, because I mean, it's 3 cards in the staging area to start with, and also if you lose the wrong hero. Though of course it scales oddly up into more players, because if you go up to 4 players, you still only lose 1 of your 12 heroes, and there are still only 3 cards in the staging area. That doesn't increase. So, 6 willpower, let's do our staging. The first appearance of the Doomed keyword. Which deck increases its threat by 1. And the second card of staging is a Dol Guldur Beastmaster. Okay, so that is a total of 8 threat in the staging area to my 6 willpower. So each deck will have to raise its threat by another 2. For travel, Great Forest Web is there, but I really don't want to go there. Because I would need to exhaust heroes, and I don't have enough heroes free to exhaust. So I will decline my option to travel. And now, because of the Doomed and the unsuccessful questing, deck 1 will be engaged by this Beastmaster. And I suppose it doesn't really matter which enemy ends up where. I think I'll have deck 2 optionally engage that one. Deck 1 will have this. Condense the staging area slightly. Now, deal out shadow cards. Yeah, I've seen this done differently. So it says when the Beastmaster attacks, deal 2 additional shadow cards. So I think I've seen that done, but in fact I don't deal it the extra shadow card yet. I do it when I decide to resolve that specific attack. So let's see, I will trigger Dark Knowledge to look at this shadow card. +1 attack or +3 if undefended. Right, well, that I suppose decides what I'm doing. Gondorian Spearman will defend that, dealing 1 point of damage, and dying. And now this one I will have to take undefended, dealing the extra shadow card. Ah, glorious. I avoid the Doomed 1 Surge locations, and they have no shadow effects, so 3 damage, which I will place on Gimli to boost his attack up to 5. And over here, Eleanor will defend against the Dol Guldur Orcs and take no damage. Right, now Legolas is going to kill one of these two enemies. I suppose I should kill the Cavern Guardian so that I have less enemies to deal with over here and get the orcs later. I'll trigger Legolas' response to place 2 progress on the quest. Discard these shadow cards and Control N. Deck 2 is now first player. I do now have 2 spirit resources, so I will play an Unexpected Courage on Gimli. And I think that will have to be it. Deck 1, meanwhile, will pay the 2 resources for Calabrian Stone on Aragorn, and let's pay 1 tactics resource for this Blade of Gondolin onto Legolas. So, questing. There are now only 2 threats in the staging area. So a great improvement. I think what I'll have to do though is quest with Aragorn and Beravor for a total of 6. Again, sorry, I'll put it over here. Oddities of Octagon, as I recall, if I put it in here, it won't actually change when I Control N, whereas here it will. And I'd rather that it just went back down to 0 each time. So, alright. Each player discards all event cards in his hand. Well, it could be worse, though that is very annoying. And card number 2, Tower Gate. Well, since I have a Snowborn Scout in hand, I will definitely not be travelling to that location. Now that is a total of 4 threats to my 6 willpower, so I will make 2 quest progress. Now, once again I will not travel, so moving on to combat. Let's use Dark Knowledge to look at this shadow card, not that it makes a difference. Eleanor will defend against the Dol Guldur Beastmaster. Deal 1 damage to each character the defending player controls. Right, yes, that. So Eleanor defending. Now over here I will resolve this. Gets an extra shadow card. Gimli will defend. Raise defending player's threat by 4. Okay. I might lose to threat. Gimli takes 1 damage. And now for attacking back, Gimli is swinging for 6. Beastmaster is killed. Legolas swings for 4, including the Blade of Gondolin, which is enough to kill the Dol Guldur orcs. And I will place 3 progress onto the quest stage. Alright, now well, I don't have to claim this yet. I need to control at least 1 objective to advance to the next stage of the quest. But I can just claim it, well, I can claim it whenever I want to actually advance. there's no rush to do it early. So let's Control N. Now, okay, I'll pay 1 leadership resource for Aragorn to place number 1 scout, placing 1 progress on the tower gate, which is explored. And I have no tactics cards in my hand, so that will have to be it. Over here, there's nothing I can afford, so that will have to be it. Once again, there's 2 threats in the staging area. I want to make sure that I get through the quest, although, I mean, I can get through it by Legolas killing something as well. But I think I will quest with Aragorn, Gimli, and I could just go for that 6 again. It worked last time, but then it might not work. But I would like to be able to draw cards with Beravor. I will send Beravor as well. A total of 8 willpower. To reveal Necromancer's Pass. And Under the Shadow. Till the end of the phase, raise the total threat in the staging area by X, where X is the number of players in the game. So that's 2 threat. 5, 7 against my 8 willpower. Nothing for Legolas to kill. I'm going to take a chance, exhaust Eleanor to cancel this treachery and replace it with the next card, which deals 1 damage to each exhausted character. Not nice, but this means there is now 5 threat in the staging area against my 8 willpower, so I make 3 progress, and I will advance to the next stage of the quest as soon as I control at least 1 objective card. Travel. Don't really want to do random discards, but I have spare. Oh no, I don't have spare heroes to exhaust. Well, at least I don't over here, because I had to exhaust Eleanor to cancel the treachery. I can't exhaust 2 heroes over here to make up for it. Well, okay. I do want to advance to the next quest stage, so Deck 2 will raise its threat by 2 to take control of it will be Gandalf's map. Now, okay, I could potentially attach it to Eleanor, because since she's already taken 2 damage, she has 1 hit point left. It's not so likely that she'll be defending again, although, because I have this Daughter of the Nimrodel in my hand, which I can play next round, so maybe not. I could put it on Beravor, meaning I would never be able to use her 2 attack and 2 defense. But I might, well, as soon as I get Eowyn back, I may well just use her to draw me extra cards, so I think I'm going to do that. And now, since I have enough progress and I control at least 1 objective, I advance to the next stage. Finding a hidden entrance to the dungeons of Dol Guldur at last, you attempt to make your way through the caverns beneath the hill. searching for your imprisoned friend. The denizens of this labyrinth stand in your way, while the jailers protect the prisoner. And, yep, we still have the restriction on allies played per round. And after placing any number of progress tokens on this card, we can rescue the imprisoned hero. Yeah, this is ambiguous because it says may now be used by its controller, implying that it's still controlled. Or at least that could be taken to imply that it's still controlled, even while it's imprisoned and can't be used. But regardless, I'll move on. As I said, I don't want to deal with this random discard, but on the other hand, I don't want there to be a load of threats sat in the staging area under the circumstances, so actually I'm going to do it. So, random discard, lost unexpected courage, that's okay, and lost valiant sacrifice, that is perfect because I still have Gandalf, which is exactly what I wanted. So, control it. Now, let's see. I'm going to spend 3 for a Daughter of the Nimrodel, but I will not exhaust her yet. And then I think I will spend these 2 spirit resources with an unexpected courage on Beravor. I will then exhaust her and ready her with unexpected courage to have deck 1 draw another 2 cards. Alright. Now that quick strike could come in handy. Maybe not. Okay. Okay, I'm going to spend all 5 of my tactics resources to bring in Gandalf. I'll trigger his response to lower my threat by 5. And that will be planning for deck 1. So now to questing, I will quest with Beravor, Gimli and Aragorn. I will spend a resource from Aragorn to re-ready him. Oh, and I will quest with Gandalf. So I'm questing for a total of 12. A King Spider. Oh. That is a problem. That messes up all my plans. Okay. No wait, I can work with this. I'll exhaust Aragorn, and I'll exhaust Eleanor, and at this point I will exhaust Daughter of the Nimrodel to heal 2 damage from Eleanor, just in case a Necromancer's Reach comes up, as that would kill her. And the second card, caught in a web. I already exhausted Eleanor, so I can't cancel it. Player with the highest threat level. Does not ready unless you pay 2 resources from the hero's pool. I will put it on Gimli. So, now I quested for 12. There is 4 threat in the staging area. And so I make 8 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I could trigger the response to rescue Eowyn at this juncture. Oh. The inclusion of the appearance of the King Spider causes me potential issues with that plan, as I think I would end up having to defend the King Spider with Eowyn. But I really need to get going on this, so I'm going to do it now. Thing is, you see, of course, forced on the Nazgul of Dol Guldur. When the prisoner is rescued, move Nazgul of Dol Guldur into the staging area. There is a slight issue with this, in that technically the Nazgul is out of play, and the text on a card that's out of play shouldn't actually apply, I don't think, strictly speaking. So technically it's not in play, so its text doesn't apply, so the forced effect shouldn't go off. Really, the forced effect to move the Nazgul into play when you rescue the prisoner should be on the quest card. But let that pass. It's not that important, so long as you remember it. That was the problem. The first time I played this quest, I didn't put the Nazgul into play because I was just looking at the quest cards. I figured I'd look at the Nazgul when it entered play, which it never did because the text that tells you to put it into play is on the card, which I hadn't looked at. So, I will decline my option to travel. Deck 1 will optionally engage the Nazgul, and Deck 2 will optionally engage the King Spider. Deal out shadow cards. Eowyn will defend, and I really hope that this shadow card doesn't do anything. It does something! Eowyn is dead. But, since I rescued her, I don't lose the game as a result of her dying. Which is slightly crazy. I hate this King Spider. Over here, Snowborn Scout will defend against the Nazgul. Oh yeah, the Nazgul gets no shadow effect, so I don't need to discard a character I control. If those shadow cards were just the other way around, I would be fine. Eowyn would have 2 damage. The Snowborn Scout would die, which it was going to do anyway, and I would discard Gandalf, who leaves play at the end of the round anyway. Regardless, Legolas and Gimli will swing for a total of 9, deal 6 damage to the Nazgul. Then I'll discard these shadow cards and control N. Yeah. It might say somewhere in the actual rulebook that if the prisoner dies, then you lose the game. But once you've rescued the prisoner, they're not the prisoner anymore. And so you can let them die and be just fine. Pretty sure. So. Alright, now... Oh, Gandalf leaves play. Will pay 1 for Snow on Scab and put 1 progress on the Great Forest Web. Oh, Gimli, because of the caught in the web, did not ready during the refresh phase unless I paid 2 resources from his pool, which I did not, because he didn't have them. However, I can still ready him with Unexpected Courage. Actually, now I think of it, Retrieval will exhaust to hand deck 1, draw 2 cards. Alright. So now to questing. I'll send Aragorn for 4. And Barrel for 2. Total of 6. Reveal. 9 shackles. That's okay. Goes to the top of the first player's deck. And the next time I'll draw 1 more cards. Discard it instead. So I'll just put it on there. And Mountains of Mirkwood. So that's a total of 4 threat against my 6 willpower. I think 2 progress. Okay, no, I will travel to the Great Forest Web, exhausting Legolas and Eleanor. Then move into combat. Deal out these shadow cards. I'll spend 1 tactics resource from Legolas to play Quick Strike, exhausting Gimli to declare him as an attacker against the Nazgul. He's attacking for 6 against 3 defense and does 3 damage. Nazgul is dead. Note that it doesn't have victory points, so if I have to reshuffle the encounter deck, it could come out again. It's actually happened one time that I was playing this scenario 3-player with my brother and a friend. We took a while getting through because we were short on willpower for some reason. I don't remember exactly why. We killed the Nazgul. In fact, we took a while before letting the Nazgul into play. We killed it, and then moved to the next quest stage, that very round. And then it came out a second time, the very next round, and then we killed it again instantly because we had an awful lot of attack power available at that point. But still. Oh, that should have gone with the location there. And over here, my daughter of the Nimrodel will lay down her life to block this king spider. And I can't then do anything about it. Shadow card is discarded. We control in Line Shackles is now discarded. So, over here, I think I will use Barrel to draw 2 cards for deck 1. And then, I don't think I'm that bothered about the Northern Tracker, so I'm just going to spend 2 resources to put Favour of the Lady onto Barrel, since she's always questing at this point. And over here, unexpected cards should be exhausted to have Gimli ready, and I can't afford anything. So let's quest for 6. Okay. Damage to each exhausted character. And Dungeon Jailer. There's only 3 threats, so we've not quested unsuccessfully, and this forced effect does not go off. So I quested for 6, so 3 progress. 1, 2, 3. Now I can claim the Shadow Key and the Dungeon Torch at any time, but since they have kind of negative effects, I don't want to do that until I am ready to move on to the next quest stage immediately. I don't really want to travel to the mountains of Mirkwood either. I mean, the response when it leaves play after being explored, that's very nice, but again, essentially it replaces itself in the staging area, so I'd probably get more. So I'd get, probably about the same threat, and it might well be another enemy, which I'm not so set up to deal with, so I will not travel. Deck 1 will engage the Dungeon Jailer. Let's deal out these shadow cards. Eleanor will defend against the King Spider. No shadow effect. She takes 1 damage. Snowball the Scout will defend against the Dungeon Jailer. Choose and discard 1 attachment you control. Damn! It's an attachment you control, and I do not control Caught in a Web, so I can't discard it. I will discard Dark Knowledge. The Snowball Scout is killed, but now Gimli and Legolas, between them, well, since the Dungeon Jailer is an orc, between them they swing for a total of 10, and the Dungeon Jailer is added to the victory display, and I trigger the responses on Legolas and the Blade of Gondolin to place 3 progress on the quest. Discard this shadow card. again. That should be exhausted. Okay, so... Oh, I forgot the Favour of the Lady on Bearable, so in fact I was questing for one more last round. That's nice. I'm very likely to get through this quest stage. There are still 8 cards left in the encounter deck, so I hopefully won't have to face the Nazgul a second time. I'm going to spend Bearable's 3 resources on self-preservation on her, and then immediately exhaust it, because I don't want her dying to the Necromancer's reach. Oh, I'm doing this out of order. Should be this deck first. This deck will spend 2 resources for Student of Gondor on Aragorn, and then get those 2 resources straight back. Then spend them on a Wandering Took. A somewhat underrated ally, I feel, because moving threat around, obviously that's potentially of kind of limited use, but the stat line for 2 resources is pretty good. I mean, granted, the Erebor Hammersmith is the same with 1 more hit point and a useful response for the same number of resources, but in a different sphere, and you can make use of the threat moving thing. And of course if we get... Well, I mean, I know we get some more Hobbit synergy in future expansions that I'm far away from in this series at the moment. And if we get even more, then Wandering Took could become somewhat useful. So... sadly, I only have 5 tactics resources, so I can't play Bjorn. Well, actually, I couldn't play Bjorn anyway, because I already played an ally this round. So, let's move on. Oh, of course. We'll draw 2 cards over here. Get Legolas a second Blade of Gondolin. And now let's quest Aragorn for 4 and Bearable for 3, total of 7 willpower. We reveal each enemy and location currently in the staging area, which is this one, gets +1 threat until the end of the phase. And an Enchanted Stream. We're down to the weak cards. Clearly, they were all hiding at the bottom of the encounter deck. So this is currently 3 threat and this is 2, so that's 5 threat against my 7 willpower. I make 2 progress, and all I need to advance to the next stage of the quest is to have rescued the prisoner, which I did, and then she immediately died. But never mind that. And to control all 3 of the objectives. So, deck 2 will raise its threat. Actually, no, I'm getting this wrong. I have no need to advance to the next stage of the quest until next round, when I will actually be questing. As such, let's see, yes, I will travel to the Enchanted Stream. Stops me drawing cards. That's not going to be an issue. Moving into combat. Get out Shadow card, and I will now trigger the action to move the Wandering Took over from deck 1 to deck 2, which also transfers 3 threat along with it. And now the Wandering Took will defend against the King Spider. Actually, no. Yeah, I might like to... It all comes down to whether I want the Wandering Took to stay in play or not. No, there could be nasty shadow effects. I don't want to risk it. Wandering Took will defend. So yeah, Eleanor could have defended and survived. But regardless, the Duke is dead. At this juncture, deck 1 will raise its threat by 2 to take control of the Dungeon Torch. And deck 2 will raise its threat by... No, scratch that. Deck 1 will raise its threat by another 2 to take control of the Shadow... Let me just swap these over. The Shadow Key. Because I now control all 3 objectives, I advance to the next quest stage. Following a thread of sunlight, you discover a cavern opening leading out through the side of the hill. Stationed outside the cave mouth, however, is a large group of orcs. Can't defeat the stage while the Nazgul is in play, but it's not. And it won't get reshuffled yet. So now, Legolas and Eleanor will combine for 4 attack to kill the King Spider. I will trigger Legolas and the 2 Blades of Gondolin to place a total of 4 progress on the quest. This is why I specifically advanced the quest stage before making that attack, so that the progress would actually do something. Otherwise, because of course these 2 things both trigger at the end of the round to deal 1 damage to Aragorn, raise my threat by another 2. So otherwise I would have avoided those by not claiming these until the planning phase as the next round, which we now move on to. Alright. I will source Barrel to drop 2 cards over here. Oh! This time round I will pay the 2 resources to ready Gimli against the Caught in a Web. So you can't afford anything. So over here, let's trigger Student of Gondor. Then let's pay 2 for another Wandering Took. Yeah, I think I am okay with that. And then, as we move into the quest phase, Barrel will of course be questing for 3. And over here I will... Oh no, hang on. I'm going to just take this back. I don't want the Wandering Took. So In fact, I will play nothing over here. But then in the quest phase, Barivor is questing for 3. I'll pay 1 for a sneak attack. Gandalf, dropping my threat by 5. Aragorn will quest and spend a resource to ready himself. Gimli will quest and use unexpected courage to ready himself. So I'm questing for 3, 7, 9. Gandalf will quest 13. And we reveal Necromancer's Reach. And King Spider. Each player must choose an exhaust one character he controls. I can do that. So that is a total of 4 threat in the staging area against my 13 willpower, 9 progress. Go on the quest, and I have won. I've rescued the prisoner, even though she then died. Just to increase my score, I will heal those 2 damage off Barivor. My score is 162. So, yeah. No, obviously not ideal. That unfortunateness with getting Eowyn killed right after rescuing her. But I kind of felt like I had to take the chance because I had everything set up so that I could put a lot of damage on the Nazgul. Well, if it hadn't been for the King Spider exhausting Aragorn, I could have killed the Nazgul that round. And as you can see, obviously things would have been a lot easier if I'd just had Eowyn available from the start, because I could have quested a lot faster. So yeah, it's interesting. There are still definite challenges in this scenario, but you can deal with it. And there are interesting points with some of the cards which don't get used so much. Obviously, some of them, like Blades of Gondolin, Unexpected Courage, Cleverance Stone, Gandalf, these are all still standards. Favor of the Lady is kind of more useful in this scenario than in others, because you can't play allies. Where that's the thing, often one of the reasons that it's less useful is you give more willpower to a hero, sure, but you could spend the same resources to possibly get more willpower from an ally. Or the same willpower, but the ally can do things other than quest if you wanted to do things other than quest. So that's often more useful, because it's multi-purpose. But in this case, since you can only play one ally per round, this allows you to get that extra willpower through another means. And then the Wandering Took, potentially extra use in this scenario, because it may be a case that one deck really needs a chump blocker but doesn't have one they can play, so a different deck can play one and transfer it over. And that's basically the thing. The threat smoothing is, it certainly can be useful, but it's not really the point of the card. The point of the card is that you can move it from deck to deck, and it's the first of a few, not many, but a few cards that kind of do that. And I think it still potentially has its uses. It's kind of a little bit underrated. Yep, that pretty much is everything I think on this scenario of Caught in a Web. Is still somewhat horrible, except that it's negated by Unexpected Courage, which obviously is a bit of a no-brainer. 2 resources to negate it permanently versus 2 resources every round. But of course, actually, I did find myself saving up a bunch of resources because I was drawing a bunch of leadership and spirit cards. Regardless, my 2 decks have made it through the core set, and so for the next blog post and video I will be moving on to the Shadows of Mirkwood cycle of adventure packs, and I hope to see you there.